of each person. They each are crafting their version of the song, and you could tell the love for the band in each song. That's why it's totally worth getting. I loved Bottoms Up rendition of Running with the Devil, which was beautiful. Susan Aquila's version of Jump. When was the last time you heard a female sing Jump? What a beautiful version that was, to have a female voice on a beautiful poppy song like that. The Charlie Diamond Band doing a version of Beautiful Girls. So nice, so good. It's incredible. You got some Sammy songs in there. It's probably more Roth heavy, but did you kind of ask people to do Sammy songs, or did it just kind of fall the way it fell?
No, they chose the ones they wanted to do. I mean, obviously I had the three best Van Halen bands from Long Island on here. We have Bottoms Up, we have Completely Unchained, and we have Van Hagar.
That's right.
And Van Hagar, of course, was going to do a Van Hagar song. They did 5150.
Sure.
They killed it.
5150, by the way, the hardest Van Hagar song to do. And my God, do they nail it. Sammy Hagar will tell you himself that I don't think he can sing that song anymore, and it's his song. But wow, Van Hagar nails 5150, the hardest Van Hagar song, the Sammy era song to do. Absolute pinnacle, and they really nailed it.
And they picked it.
Yeah,
they picked
unbelievable. Completely Unchained, okay? Little Dreamer, which is not exactly a dead-on cut to highlight, but they really do a beautiful job with it. Eugene on vocals, and Jake, oh my God, how amazing is Jake? He's incredible.
Jake's an incredible guitar player, man. I love his Facebook videos when he shows how to play certain solos and stuff. He just blows me. He knows that stuff inside out. It's just ridiculous how good he plays it.
Jake is so good, it's almost scary sometimes how close he is to Eddie.
And I'll tell you something, I've known Gene a long time, Eugene, and, I've worked with them. And like when you go see Completely Unchained, Eugene really brings to the table that excitement of David Lee Roth.
Totally.
It's unbelievable, the show they put on.
Not only that, but Gene, the shape that man is in, he's walking around with no shirt on, he's cut, he's buff, he looks unbelievable.
Dude.
He's flipping, he's dancing, he's kicking, he's singing at the same time. He's delivering even more than Roth is these days. It's incredible how in his position that he's doing that. That's unbelievable. I have a question. Do you have a favorite? Is there anyone particular on the album that really stood out to you?
That's a tough one, because I got to tell you, I'm so proud of the record as a whole, and I enjoy listening to it from top to bottom. I think we got the order finally right. We went around in different orders. I think the album breaks up nicely, where we put in like your Dave Kellens and your Pamela Lewis's and stuff. I don't know. I don't really have a favorite. I think everybody's just... I love listening to every one of them, and I think everyone's done such a great job,
It's great.
So I could tell you I have favorite Van Halen songs particular, but, that's different. Do I have a favorite cut on this record? No, they're all spectacular. Yeah. That's why this record is worth getting. Besides the fact you're going to help people, it's a great listen.
What was the biggest surprise for you when everything came into you and you were working with it? What was the one that was like, wow, I didn't see that coming?
Honestly, the one that really blew me away, because I didn't know what to expect, was Steel Pulse.
Yeah. That was intense. That's for sure.
David Hines just, and if you listen to the groove of that, it's reggae, but it's still got that, Van Halen thing.
It's incredible.
Yep.
And here's the other thing. One thing that you're going to learn from listening to this album, and it's so worth getting, is really the testament of Eddie's writing. Even though everybody's doing their own interpretations, the strength of the actual writing shows through, because the brilliance of the song, of the structure, it goes beyond Eddie's noodling and his incredible hammer-ons and all his wild, crazy firework tricks. It's way beyond that. It shows you the bare bones of how incredible the Van Halen catalog actually is, because the way people can take it and bend it in their own way and still appreciate the song, it really takes you to another level, because everybody's so used to hearing the Van Halen versions, and they're all incredible, but to hear someone else interpret them really kind of makes them special in a way, because you appreciate it in a whole new light.
And what's nice is not only do you have bands on this record that are well known, but you also have some well-known Long Island bands on here that you'll get to hear and just hear what kind of talent that we have around here. You know?
Absolutely. Well, one thing that's special about Long Island, number one, like you said earlier, and this goes for not only the rock and roll community, but also the comedy stand-up community on Long Island. People are not competitive. They're supportive of each other. They want the other band to do well. They're always supportive of each other. They want to work as a team. That's why this album kind of comes off as just a unified effort, which is really special. And that's what makes it different than any other Van Halen tribute album that I've heard, and I've heard many. But this one really stands out. And one thing that's beautiful, I wanted to ask you, obviously we're in COVID times right now, but have you thought about maybe doing a Van Halen tribute concert when the time comes where we can kind of maybe get these bands together and perform some of this music live?
A bunch of people have approached me with that, and it's definitely a thought. The other thought I had was I'm friends with Dan and Ryan Welsh over at 89 North, and they've put together a very nice system there where they have like a 5-camera video with pristine sound. You know, I was thinking of possibly doing some kind of a virtual thing where maybe we have a couple of bands there and then a couple of bands pop in from their own studios. Sure. You know, there's a lot of different things we can do with or without COVID. Yeah, so it is something that we're thinking about as well, because a lot of people are asking. But again, like bands like Steel Pulse, you know, they're not on the road right now. You get David's in Martinique, the guitar players in California, the bass players in Europe. So I think it would be tough to put those guys together unless they did like a video that was pre-recorded and we played. If it can happen, we're going to make it happen.
Sure. And just to wrap up, wanted to ask you, what do you want people to get out of this? Where after listening to this, purchasing it, spending the money towards the charity effort, what do you want them to get out of it sonically?
So there's a lot of things they can get out of it. Obviously, they can get out of it just the love for Eddie and the brilliance of the music that he's written. They're also going to hear 17 amazing bands do their versions of it and showing their love and commitment and passion towards that music. It comes out in every song, and you're like, wow. And it's just enjoyable to listen to the songs that you love with a little bit of a different light, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we certainly want everybody to check it out.
It's livanhalentribute.com. livanhalentribute.com is the website.
Absolutely. Please go out and purchase it. It is a worthwhile purchase, and you're also doing some good while purchasing it, which is fantastic. You get a digital download as well as the CD. Fader, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate talking with you and sharing the message here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I don't know if there's a Van Halen without David Lee Roth. I know that nobody cares about Van Halen if David Lee Roth is not in the band. I'm the Toastmaster General of the Immoral Majority.
He's so full of himself, and and to me it just doesn't work anymore.
I don't really see that there's a whole lot of comparison. Sam throws a party. I am the party.
Hey folks, I'd like to introduce you to the Classic Rock Album by Album podcast. Welcome to the Classic Rock Album by Album podcast, where no stone is left unturned in the show's epic quest to review and dissect every single rock album ever made. Join self-proclaimed rock authorities Chris Carson and Lee Bowie on their epic journey to uncover the true classics. You can find the Classic Rock Album by Album podcast wherever podcasts can be found, including Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Our website address is classicrockalbumbyalbum.libsyn.com. That's LIBSYN.com. And we can be reached on Facebook at fb.me/Classic Rock Album by Album. See you soon from the Classic Rock Album by Album podcast.
Author Greg Renoff is back with a new book, Ted Templeman, A Platinum Producer's Life and Music. the new biography of the record producer Ted Templeman, who went on to produce Van Halen, the Doobie Brothers, Van Morrison, Aerosmith, Sammy Hagar, and more. The book, which runs $19.95, and it's currently available at Amazon.com. From the man who brought you Van Halen Rising comes Ted Templeman, a platinum producer's life and music, written by Templeman as told to Greg Renoff. Available for only $19.95 at Amazon.com. Order it today.
Hi, this is Wild Mick Brown, the drummer for Dokken, and you're listening to Dave and Dave on Unchained.
Martin Popoff here. Hope you're enjoying this latest episode of Dave and Dave Unchained, the Wise Swamis on All Things VH. Just wanted to remind you that at martinpopoff.com, I've got two Van Halen books that I wrote. One is Van Halen, a visual biography, which is basically a big hardcover coffee table book, 400 images, 20,000 word detailed timeline. And the other one is called Unchained, a Van Halen user manual. It's the sort of 120,000 word, very academic, a lot of crazy chapters, a lot of trivia, wordy book that I did on Van Halen. So yes, go to martinpopoff.com. I sign and ship those out of my office here in Toronto. There's PayPal buttons for the US, international, and Canada. Again, Van Halen, a visual biography, and Unchained, a Van Halen user manual. Back to Dave and Dave.
Check out the new podcast, The Rock Quarry, your place to hear in-depth interviews with some of rock's most colorful characters, with your host, entertainment journalist David J. Criblay. The Rock Quarry is available for free on Spreaker and iTunes. You can check us out on Facebook at The Rock Quarry Podcast, on Twitter at Rock Quarry Pod, on Instagram at The Rock Quarry Podcast, or email us at therockquarrypodcast@gmail.com.
Just like anything else, people have differences of opinion or whatever, and, Van Halen was on an extended hiatus, and I wanted to go out and play. I didn't want to just sit around and do nothing. And Sammy had put together this tour with David Lee Roth. They were playing the Sam and Dave tour. And he asked me if I wanted to come out and guest on a few of the shows, which I did maybe about a handful of shows on that tour with Sam. Just come out and play a few Van Halen songs. Well, let's just say that the powers to be, they were not too happy that I was doing something like that. And, I kind of got backed up against a wall. And, I wanted to go out and play. So I decided, that I'm going to go out and play. I thought I'd be waving the Van Halen flag high while there was nothing going on really with the band at the time. So, things just kind of blew up from there. And I could just kind of leave the rest to your imagination. But that's basically how it all kind of came to be.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have an incredible guest today. You know him as the bass tech for Michael Anthony for many years. We all cheer his name when we see him in concert. It is Kevin Dugie Dugan. How are you, Kevin?
I'm old, fat, ugly, and slow and loving life.
All good, brother, all good.
Is it in that order, Kevin?
Yeah, well, sometimes it depends on what day of the week.
All right, fair enough.
Awesome. Well, we're so excited to have you on. We wanted to have Kevin on for many years, and we finally connected, and we're excited about that. So just to start off, we wanted to ask you, how did you initially hook up with Michael Anthony?
Actually, through Flag Systems, a company in Orange County, California. I used to deal with them a lot. I was working with George Duke, Stanley Clark, Leon and Dugu Chancellor, and they used Flag Systems. And one day I stopped into the shop and they asked me if I had a resume, and I said, no, I'd never had to use one. And they said, well, we got a great opportunity for you. Sit down and handwrite a resume, and we'll get our secretary to type it out for you. And they told me, what it was, that Van Halen was 5 days away from going out on tour, and Michael Anthony's bass tech, who was a British guy that had previously worked for Black Sabbath, got pulled back into Black Sabbath because they called him up and said, we want to make you the road manager for our upcoming tour, and we'll buy you a car if you do this. So he called up Michael with 4 days left of rehearsal and said bye. So, they were kind of stuck at the last minute. So anyways, I put together a resume. To my horror, later on, I found out they never had time to get the secretary to type it up, so they handed it in to Michael. So they handed him a handwritten resume, which I was so embarrassed.
Wow.
But anyways, I ended up going to one of their shows, and it was weird because I was working the only straight gig I ever really had outside of a newspaper route or working in fast food restaurants when I was in junior high.
Right.
I got a call to go there, and I this job I was working, you went in at 3 and you worked till about 11 or noon the next day. So I went up to meet Michael and do the interview. There were 6 guys there for this. 3 of them were named Kevin.